Daily dose of Diddy coming at you. The trial gets uncomfortable and tense with questioning of Danity Kane singer.
Court reporter for the Sean Diddy Combs criminal trial. Elizabeth, so good to see you. So you were in court today, week 2, continuation of Dawn Rashard's testimony. She left the stand, Kerry Morgan on the stand. Before we get to the substance of what they had to say, what is the vibe like in court today? How does Sean Combs appear? Who's there? Paint the picture for us, because unfortunately, as we know, there are no cameras. There are no audio recordings allowed in that courtroom. What did you see and what did you hear?
Somebody asked why there are no cameras and no audio equipment. I believe you're not allowed to film a federal case. Civil case is different.
Yeah, well, the tone as far as this morning goes, a lot of people were kind of anticipating what would the rest of Dawn Rashard's testimony look like, and especially more so, how would the cross-examination and how would Diddy's defense attorneys kind of be able to pull apart essentially her credibility.
Right now, the defense is basically trying to make the case that although degenerate, the activity in the freak-offs was consensual.
As far as just everyone inside the courtroom today, it doesn't look like there was that big kind of
That's exactly why they do these fucking drawings.
present for the defendant side that we've seen last week, especially when we came to day 1 and even day 2 of testimony.
Yeah, isn't that great? We just have to play telephone with one of the most important cases of our generation. It's all a distraction for the Epstein list.
That we didn't see any of Diddy's children inside that courtroom, which I think is a little big and a little not big at the same time. We saw images over this weekend that the twins were in during prom season. They were in their prom dresses and that sort. Not 100% sure where the sons are in this kind of picture, as far as are they on the West Coast again, because the twins are about to graduate. So it's unclear why the family presence wasn't so big as it has been for day 1 and day 2. As far as Diddy himself, though, it seems like that didn't necessarily faze him that much. I assume that he, looks forward to seeing his family inside that courtroom, but maybe understanding that they had other obligations. He didn't seem too bothered by that or anything like that. So as far as him being inside that courtroom, it was still the same old Diddy.
You think if you're the family member of a heinous potential criminal, you just turn a blind eye? How does that work? If your dad is being accused of being the puppet master of freak-offs on the national scale, how do you look at him the same?
That we've seen kind of in the same old outfit that we've seen him in as well too. He was wearing a tan sweater, he had a white undershirt, he had khakis on. When he comes into the courtroom, he hugs his attorneys, he chats with them, all those types of things. And so a lot of people were just anticipating what would it look like once Dawn Rashard got back on the stand. And let me tell you something, Jesse, when I saw her on the stand today, and even on Friday as well too, she appeared like she just didn't want to be there. You could tell that she was very uncomfortable, especially talking about her recollection of her time.
This is Dawn Rashard, by the way. Danity Kane.
That she had worked with Diddy, her time after working with Diddy, especially during the cross-examination part.
There were accusations saying that the sons were involved. Yeesh. Now that you say that, I am cognizant of those accusations as well.
I thought that maybe she would get a little emotional because she just appeared maybe a little nervous, maybe a little intimidated, not necessarily sure, but she was very soft-spoken while she was on that stand today answering some of the questions. A lot of those questions obviously had to do with the egg frying incident. It had to do with why Dawn Rashard even continued working with Diddy.
The what? The egg frying incident? What does that mean?
Even afterwards, or even wanting to work with Diddy afterwards. And so a lot of the anticipation, or just the overall tone inside that courtroom, especially when it came to that cross-examination, it was kind of, it was a little rough to watch. It was a little like a lot of people, especially us in the gallery, in the press, were.
In a March 2025 sit-down with prosecutors, she said that she saw Combs throw eggs at Ventura, but put down the frying pan. This is important. There are eggs being thrown. When Ventura, so that's Cassie, stuck up for herself, Combs would hurt her for it. detailed one alleged altercation in which Combs attempted to attack Ventura with a frying pan and then drag her up a set of stairs, an incident that she previously described in her civil lawsuit against Combs. The following day, Combs allegedly threatened that Rashard could disappear if she told anyone about the incident. Rashard said she took it as a death threat. Yeah, it sounds about right. Rashard had met with federal prosecutors on 8 separate occasions before her appearance at the federal courthouse in New York, and Westmoreland's cross-examination focused on where Rashard's story differed between those interviews. For example, in 2024, Rashard had indicated she heard the frying pan hit the wall, but she did not see Combs attack Ventura with it. In a March 2025 sit-down with prosecutors, she said that she saw Combs throw eggs at Ventura, but put down the frying pan. Rashard said in court on Monday that she did not recall her previous accounts of the incident. Attempted to strike her with a frying pan. Breakfast at the Combs, bro. A nightmare scenario.
We're just kind of like, wow, this is a little brutal, and they kind of hit the points that they wanted to hit while the,
Didn't he blow up Kid Cudi's car? Allegedly, of course. That is true.
them being defense attorneys. And so I think that the prosecution really kind of had to tighten everything up as far as...
Right here. God, look at this mainstream slop, bro. Look at all these fucking ads. Sean Diddy Combs may have firebombed Kid Cudi's car.
You know, trying to get maybe back in the jury's good graces after kind of seeing that cross-examination go and all those holes that were poked into her testimony. And so that was just the overall essence and tone of today's, especially this morning before Carrie Morgan got on the witness stand.
To go by, because I know it's so loud. So, this, Elizabeth. I want, how is...
Dude, if somebody blows up my Nissan GTR Nismo, the vendetta that I will launch against them.
The jury responding to Dawn Rashard's testimony, and what were some of the highlights? I mentioned it briefly before you came on air, kind of summarized some of the points, but what were some of the points that came out today from her testimony, both on direct and cross-examination? And how was the jury responding to her testimony? Because let's not forget, she is a corroborating witness for Cassandra Ventura Fine. She helped to articulate some of the finer elements of racketeering.
Philion is who you sent to kill the fucking boogeyman.
What were some of the highlights from her testimony, both on direct and cross, and how was the jury responding?
Well, absolutely. As far as being under direct, it was really just kind of ironing out the details as far as what happened with this whole egg skillet incident, that being the incident that happened in 2009, according to Dawn Rashard, where essentially Cassie was cooking Diddy breakfast. Diddy comes downstairs, gets upset about either the way that the breakfast was made or why it wasn't being made fast enough, and essentially just an assault happened in the aftermath of that, something that Dawn Rashard has even pointed out in her civil lawsuit, something that definitely the defense was definitely talking about today. So a lot of it had to do...
Now, I don't have any insight into this complex from a psychological point of view, but I do see this behavior play out in many subjective stories that I hear about, like, abuse in relationships, where typically the guy will freak the fuck out about the way, like, dinner's being made. Like, what is that? Just fucking DoorDash your food, bro. Go outside and get something to eat. These blow-ups are crazy. Optically, it doesn't bode well. The fucking eggs are runny! Like, it's baby syndrome. I don't know, I've heard a lot of accounts of grown-ass men freaking the fuck out about food.
Just with under direct examination still while they were finishing that up, just what was Cassie's demeanor when this was going on. They were also asked, It's a
long strain of last straws, I guess so.
Dawn Rashard was also asked, you know, Cassie had a pretty quiet demeanor, and that Diddy wasn't necessarily having that when it comes to...
I guess it's the small being extrapolated into the large, the micro into the macro.
What kind of promoted this type of violence, or what prompted this type of violence, as far as why Diddy would essentially physically assault?
That's what millions of fiat units does to you. Pfft, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Yes, I would.
And Dawn would say Cassie would just be speaking up for
Maybe it was a bad day.
herself, or it would be something random that happened. Then there were moments where they had talked about who witnessed these physical assaults, and Don Rashard pointed out names such as Harve Pierre, who used to be the president of Bad Boy, Mia, who we expect to be testifying as well too. She had worked for Diddy. Capricorn Clark had worked for Diddy as well too, and then
There's something so homosexual about the rap game. Hear me out. Puff Daddy, Bad Boy. Oh, it's just, there's so many closet gay men in positions of power in rap, or so it seems.
named other names like D-Rock and Bonds, who both worked.
Maybe that's why they talk about banging hoes so much. Because if you're a guy and you're like, dude, you don't get any cheeks. It's like, yes, I do. Dude, I sleep with all the women. Dude, I'm always having sex with beautiful women. They all wear expensive jewelry to impress other men. I'm not even convinced they like women. None of them are like actually married. So they're trying to fill these voids. And when they should just be maybe gay. Maybe out of the closet.
Security for Diddy. So I can kind of see where the prosecution was kind of painting that.
That's right. They act the most macho. This is very Freudian. Jordan Peterson speaks of this.
Amping that up as far as how the stock.
Look at my Glock. Like, I got shooters? Huh? The fuck?
Staff is involved in all of that sort. As far as 2000.
Just a bunch of grown men writing poetry about each other.
2010, just the following year, she says she witnessed another incident where they were all at a festival together up in Central Park. They were about to bring
gang culture. It's just a bunch of men. It's not even like a Greek-coded fraternity. It's just a bunch of... It's pretty gay. It's gayer than being gay.
out Diddy's
I'm about to hit him with the extendo? Huh? What?
Money group, and that right before this had happened, or actually, excuse me, I am looking at the wrong incident. Sorry about that. But there was another incident in 2010 where they were having a dinner with a bunch of celebrities, and that Cassie and Diddy were kind of arguing a little bit secretly there, and Diddy punched her in the stomach, according to Don Rashard. There, she said that at that dinner, they had people like Harp.
I gotta go kill other people to impress Zaddy.
Pierre, again, former president of Bad Boy, D-Rock, security, Kalina Harper, who used...
Yo, that goes hard? Hold on. Huh? And what's crazy is a lot of these people in the rap game always get so butthurt, literally and figuratively, when you make any sort of gay comment. Hey, yo, pause. Pause. Hold on. Yo, pause. Say what? Hold up. Pause.
To work with Diddy's Dirty Money, Mia, who also worked with Diddy.
It's like gay jokes were prominent in middle school, and then like that's it. Like that's where it ends. I don't know. Like the thought of being gay to these people is like the devil. Like which I guess to some it is, but like it's like preposterous to even insinuate. It's like that can get you killed. It's like, it's not that serious, bro. It's not that serious.
Diddy and Bonds were all there during this dinner. And so then we kind of saw an exhibit photo of what Harve Pierre looked like. And so then there was another talk, and this is kind of where I bring up the Central Park incident, where there was an incident where...
Then why sag and show your sweet cheeks? So sagging, I actually ChatGPT'd this because I had the same Freudian thought where, a man exposing his ass to the world is quite sus. That's peak zest. In fact, I can't think of anything more gay than sagging. And apparently it was developed in prison culture because they weren't allowed to wear belts. So a lot of times men's pants would sag. And then that got turned into like a form of defiance culturally. So, yo, I'm sagging. I don't want to be the one to tell you this. It's fucking gay. It's just a little gay.
Diddy had allegedly physically assaulted.
Like the homophobia is so serious that it makes me think that you're actually gay. Like they use it as a shield. That's exactly it.
Cassie while they were getting ready for this festival, and that Cassie came into the bathroom, and that Kalina and Dawn kind of confided in her, or at least kind of helped her during this moment. They all kind of put on sunglasses and then just kind of carried on like usual. Meanwhile, Cassie's kind of nursing some injuries.
Listen, I look at things from an athletic perspective. If my britches, if my draws are not where they should be, I'm in a compromised victim scenario. I need to be able to sprint.
Just behind the scenes. Now, when it came to the cross-examination, and there was just a lot of testimony going on today, so I'm trying to get you guys all my notes going on and everything like that. But once it came to the cross-examination, that was done by Nicole Westmoreland, and this was the
Imagine not being able to change direction on a dime. That's crazy.
first time we've kind of really seen her in action when it comes to this specific trial. And so first thing that Nicole Westmoreland's going to be asking her is just about her lawsuit, the lawsuit that she had filed just a few months ago against Diddy. And so she was asked about...
Some people say that you can hide a gun while sagging. Is that true? Where is it going?
Demand letter that was, I guess, set up by her attorneys. She was asked about how many times she spoke with federal prosecutors, and she said she couldn't necessarily recall the amount of times that she had done it, but the defense...
In the cheeks.
kind of summed it up that she at least spoke with federal prosecutors 8 different times. They brought back the egg skillet incident where on Friday the defense was pointing out, you said that Cassie was cooling the eggs and then Diddy comes downstairs and then he hits Cassie, or did he hit her?
We're really harping on this whole egg situation. Was it hard boiled? Soft scramble? Chives? What are we talking here? Omelette du fromage?
Did you see him hit her? Did you see that he had threw something at her? Was he like, it was really just kind of that quick and that much questioning kind of being thrown at her essentially. And then they brought up how it kind of compared to what she had said in her lawsuit just about the whole egg incident, and said that she didn't see the pan hit Cassie in the lawsuit. And then when she was asked essentially why she brought the lawsuit about, the defense was really kind of pointing at her. And I think this is something that, you know, anybody who had filed a civil claim against Diddy might be expecting this under the cross-examination, is what was their motive?
I, as another man, do not want to see your cheeks. That's just a fact. Why are you forcing me to see your butt cheeks? That's crazy.
In filing the lawsuit against the defense's client, essentially. And so while Dawn at times was trying to say that she wanted justice and that she wanted to do the right thing, essentially, that the defense also pointed out, well, you did want compensation as well, too, and Dawn had...
Which is exactly why you need to be using the best soap money can buy. Cheeky. Use code Philion at checkout. Use cheeky.com/Philion. 10% off. I mean, if you're not using Cheeky to wash your cheeks, what are you even doing?
to kind of own up and admit that she did want compensation for the time that she had worked on as an employee. Then the defense was asking her about her most recent communications with Diddy, as going back as early or as soon as like 2020, 2021, where essentially Don was reaching out to Diddy himself, was trying to get in touch with people about this kind of whole making the band. I believe it's a reboot that they were trying to do where Diddy wasn't necessarily going to be a judge, but instead Don wanted to use that opportunity to work with somebody else named Lori Ann Gibson. And so the defense was really kind of hammering her just about the facts that she had talked
Hey, yo, pause.
about with federal prosecutors as far as the different meetings that she had had in 2024, on March 18th of this year, on April 17th of this year, again just pointing out specifics in regards to this egg incident, but also at the same time going into specifics about whether or not she felt threatened to working with Diddy, and if she felt threatened, if she felt scared for her life, why did she continue reaching out to Diddy as late as 2020 or 2021, you know, as we ended
Some sort of trauma bonding scenario, I would argue here. I don't know. The devilish acts that Diddy allegedly put Cassie through, there's obviously some sort of complex and faculty going on.
As we ended direct examination on Friday, they were really kind of hitting on the point that after...
If you ever find yourself needing to wash off the slop, you're going to want to use Cheeky. The best soap money can buy. Use cheeky.com/Philion, 10% off.
Don Rashard and even her bandmate at the time, Kalina Harper, allegedly witnessed this physical assault with the whole egg skill.
He's basically been her handler since she was, what, 16? I think they met when she was 19.
Thing, because that's kind of how they were summing up this particular incident, was the egg skillet incident. She was asked on Friday, what did Diddy tell you the next day? And essentially Don had said that Diddy essentially said,
in prison culture, they hide stuff in their asses. Think about that. Sit on that one for a hot second. Using your butthole as a wallet? That's insane behavior.
That people wind up missing when they question him and that type of thing, and that was perceived as a death threat. So then when the
Wes Watson talks about this.
defense had their chance to kind of cross-examine her, they were like, well, why did you feel threatened, and yet you continue to want to work with him? And so the defense moments, Nicole Westmoreland really kind of hit it on the head. I think a lot of people were possibly wondering, did Dawn come off like a liar? Or did she kind of over-embellish some of these incidents? But
right.
To Dawn's accord and to Dawn on the witness stand, she was just saying, you know, she was trying to remember to the best of her ability. So it was kind of tough to watch, but at the same time, I think Dawn Rashard held her own. She didn't, you know, kind of get too frazzled necessarily. She didn't get overly emotional, but you could tell that during the cross-examination, it was pretty tough.
And we actually have a poll up right now on YouTube. Do you think the jury views Dawn Rashard as a credible witness? We'll see what the results of those are. I wish I had a little bit more time with you, Elizabeth, because I wanted to ask you a little bit more about Kerry Morgan. This is Cassandra Ventura's former best friend.
You should do a video on how many people Drake has offed. Is that true? I saw some crazy allegations. I just... that's so far out of my wheelhouse. Like, I don't really engage with deep rap culture.
On the stand, but I know we have to get you back into that courtroom. Thanks so much for giving us an update. Great reporting as always. Elizabeth Milner, everybody, thank you so much.
Thanks, Jesse.
Yeah, so far they're min-maxing this whole egg debacle. See how it plays out.
Now I'm back here with Afi Patterson. Afi, you want to hear something really interesting as we talk about the questions from YouTubers, and we have polls up? So we had a poll that said, has this trial changed your view of Sean Diddy Combs? Ready for this? 56% say yes, 43% say no. Now, look, I'm an attorney, right? And I don't care what the case is. I like the idea of, the idea is for the jury to go in, clear eyes, clear minds, allow the evidence.
It's not as cut and dry as one would initially think, but it's still pretty damning.
And the facts and the testimony to sway their opinion. To see that change, 56.
What music did Diddy actually make again? That's so true, dude. I I haven't heard one of his songs in years. Top P. Diddy songs.
Percent of, not the jury, but the people watching this.
I mean, I'll be missing you. I mean, that's a pretty big one. I Need a Girl Part 2. It's all about the Benjamins. Come with me. Bad Boy for Life.
Their view has changed. That's interesting. What do you take away from that?
Well, what was it from the beginning? I think it's pretty low. I think it should be higher toward the negative side because I think for a long time he's kept his reputation pretty good, pretty much intact. He's a music mogul. He is a self-made businessman. So I would have expected it to be a little bit higher in the negative. Can I also talk about just this case in general? I think that there's a money issue here. And like we were talking about Don Rashard and her civil case, and we can talk about Cassie and her civil case. In our justice system, we are allowed to have compensation, but I think compensation is maybe the wrong word. I think that when you've suffered some serious guttural traumas, you are entitled to try to be made whole, and financial compensation, if you will, that helps to make you whole. It doesn't resolve everything, but you're entitled to that. That's what our legal system allows.
Well, look, the defense is going to jump on that, right? The defense is going to jump on the $20 million settlement, or purported $20 million settlement with Sean.
Getting paid out is one thing, but where's the actual justice if these allegations are true and as severe as elucidated? Money only goes so far, but where's the vengeance?
On Combs, the $10 million settlement, or expected $10 million settlement.
Because if you're rich enough, you could just pay your way out of anything.
She's going to get with the LA Intercontinental Hotel. The idea is you only went after this, you brought up these allegations for monetary purposes. I don't know if it makes entire sense. Why do I say that? Cover trials all the time where somebody testifies and they're in the middle of active litigation against somebody, and the argument is, well, you would benefit if there was a guilty verdict here, wouldn't you not? Well, she filed her lawsuit, settled with Sean Combs, and then cooperated with the government. I don't quite know what the incentive would be there, right? You know you're going to have to testify, make your allegations public, have to... I mean, if you look at people online, there's a lot of people who are questioning.
Like, did Cassie min-max the legal system by getting the claim and then taking him to criminal court?
Her credibility, her authenticity. I don't know if the defense did a significant job or not of saying that the financial motivation was a reason for her to come forward, striking at her credibility. I don't know if I saw that. What do you take away from it, Afi?
No, I agree. I'm merely focusing on Don Rashard's part, and they're questioning her. Why are you coming forward? But I think just with respect to how people feel about him, Diddy, and how they view him, I think a lot of people are turned off by the money aspect. But if, the problem is if you focus on the civil suit first, you have people questioning, well, why didn't you go the criminal route? Now that she's going the criminal route, people are saying, well, oh, okay. Now they pick apart issues like, why did you stay? You should have left early. So it's like you really can't win.
What is the narrowest claim of this case? What do you mean by that?
In situations like this, I think in intimate partner domestic violence situations.
Well, the way I think the prosecution tried to correct that, I don't know if that's the right terminology, is they said, she was in the middle of this, very hard for her to get out, maybe didn't even recognize she was a victim or what was going on, again, taking the allegations as true. And it wasn't until later on that she went through therapy, potentially for PTSD, where she recognizes to recall traumatic episodes and recognizing what happened to her, and then files the lawsuit. Now, the defense could say, This therapy, is it actually recalling real memories of what happened, or is it tainting it? Is it tainting your recollection of what happened? Is it a little bit of a dubious science? And I'm sure that's going to come back and forth a little bit, but it is a question. You were part of this relationship for quite some time, helped to set up these alleged freak-offs. The text messages would say you encouraged them.
How do you explain Cassie initiating the freak-offs? That's not a good look. I'm not saying she's not a victim. I'm just saying that's bad optics.
You wonder if it's a question and a problem for the prosecution, but at the same time, the prosecution knew about these messages, they knew about the timeline, they still felt confident to go forward with this case and Cassandra Ventura as their star witness. Okay, we got a question from Last Plane Home. Can Diddy still take a plea deal? It sounds like they were all under the influence, which impairs a sane mind. Afi.
She did not initiate the start of all of them, but she apparently did initiate the start of some of them.
Is the deal still on the table at this point?
Yeah, I mean, well, put it
I
this
think
way.
you can always take one.
You could always take one, right?
Right. You can always take one, but is it still on the table? It depends on how confident the prosecution feels about their case. And I think, again, this is set to be an 8-week trial, so I think that you're going to have...
Weren't heavy drugs involved? Yeah, but not outside of the freak-offs, to my understanding. Like, if it's just a Tuesday afternoon, they made it seem as if Cassie at one point was like, yo, let's do a freak-off. Stockholm Syndrome and dependency, that would make sense.
Have a lot of people. And Jesse, you tell me, I believe there's supposed to be at least 2 more alleged victims coming through.
Well,
but this is supposed to be an 8-week trial.
There were supposed to be 4. One of them can't be found.
There's a lesson in here, bro. Never go full goon.
Which is a problem. But look.
What do you mean, like, she can't be found? They don't know where one of the victims is?
It's also different, right? If it was before the trial started, before opening statements, before Cassandra...
We have a camera on every goddamn square inch of this country. Find her.
Ventura had to take the stand. You, prosecutor, would say, listen, we want to avoid this. We want to avoid the jury after seeing this. We want to avoid putting on alleged victims who have to recount what happened to them. Okay, we might be interested in you accepting a deal. Now, after she takes the stand? Now, after Dawn Rashard takes the stand? I don't know.
Yes, but just also, you were talking about the PTSD therapy that Cassie got. I thought that her testimony showed that, yeah, she was a willing participant very early on. I don't think it was super, super helpful for the prosecution. But also, to your point, I think you mentioned the fact that it was brought up that she may not know that she was a victim. But for me, the line of delineation is, when did it become coercion? Clearly coercion. And that is when she wanted to leave and he threatened her with the videos. I would love to see more of a
the blackmail. I mean, you're not getting around that one.
timeline come out, because I'm not seeing just a clear timeline. And I think, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no. I was going to say,
Okay.
I think this all comes down to closing arguments. There's a lot here. There is a lot here. And I think the prosecution and the defense needs to crystallize it, like you said, with a timeline, matching it up to the elements. I'm a lawyer. And let me tell you, explaining this to people, what racketeering is, sex trafficking, how all these allegations match up to the elements, it's complicated.
It's complex. Yeah, it is.
So, got another question.
Yeah, but that's why you get paid $4 million a second. That's why you invoice everyone for nothing. All these victim maxers. It's complicated explaining the law to people that are not lawyers.
Question for you. Got a lot of questions coming in right now. Again, we're waiting to go back into the courtroom. As soon as that begins, once again, we will give you real-time updates. Okay, question from Poetic O. Can Diddy...
It's just rad. I hate lawyers, bro.
use a mental health defense if he claims to be a sociopath or narcissist?
I don't
Some dark triad maxing.
know if narcissism is
So I know a lot of lawyers, and I love them as people, but the profession, ugh.
a defense to these RICO charges. I don't know if you being a sociopath is a proper defense. There are different
Imagine defending Diddy as a lawyer. Like, what the fuck?
types of mental health, mental defect defenses that you can use, and I don't think these are either one of them. And also the prosecution was talking about, excuse me,
I think that's pretty common. You'll have some lawyers just like drop the case. They're like, yo, I want nothing to do with this.
the defense. I think they were trying to
But then I think if you defend somebody successfully, where that you know, like the OJ case, you just skyrocket to the top as a lawyer. You're like, yo, this person's a god.
at the fact that Diddy was under some type of force of drug abuse or a state of drug-induced violence whenever he would beat her. I think that's a poor argument because she was beaten for what, 9 or 10 years. Furthermore, how do you build $1 billion enterprise if you're consistently um, intoxicated? Or if you are, you're very high functioning. So I don't think that that's the best argument.
The diddler strikes again.